Let's see if that's actually working. Hopefully that's working now. Is that working? You can hear us? You can hear me? Cool. Can you see me? Too late to submit, unfortunately, Sagarit. You had to sign up to do it a few days ago. Why has that not worked? Can you pass my phone from out there, please? Maybe I need to... Oh, you got sight and sound, so you can see me. Sweet. Let's have a look. I'm going to start in a sec. This happens every single time. Wait, there we go. I can see me. Sweet. All right, so thank you for joining me on this fine Friday. I hope you haven't eaten too many hot cross buns. I have got, well, we were sent loads and loads of tracks, so I'm not going to be able to go through all of them. So I've just randomly selected some. I don't even know necessarily the names for each project, because most people don't actually name it in a very clear fashion. They just put Future House or whatever instead of their name first. So, underrated reply guy, I can see you. This is how it works now. I can actually see everyone. I've got a display right behind me. It's like Minority Report. It's really quite creepy. Andre, it's you had to sign up to the email list to get the details for submitting a track, so it's all kind of done and dusted. But I would say that it's still going to be incredibly useful. Something we do in the accelerator when we're giving homework feedback is that the other students get to hear their cohort's music, and then they get to hear the feedback, and more often than not you're going to get something and you'll be like, oh, that makes sense, I can apply that to my tracks. Sweet. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to hopefully the audio is going to be good. I'm just going to double check the audio from Ableton. Let's have a listen. Turn off those reactions, and I shall use external system. Just going to check this is all audio is working. Yeah, and it should be ducking it a bit when I'm speaking. Can you hear me speaking over the music? Hopefully you can hear that and hear it. Let's just make that a bit. Yeah, you can hear the music. Cool, here's the desktop. There you go. So, a little middle on the voice. Let's just see. I should have, thanks for your patience all, I should have a sidechain compressor here. Sidechain duck. Okay, cool. I'll just turn down the loopback audio a tiny bit. One more test and then we're ready to, audio's perfect. That's okay, is it? You can hear me? It's a tad loud on the music. Yeah, some people have got mastering on, which is kind of throws things out a bit, but I've just turned it down a bit, so hopefully we should be good now. Is that audible? Still too loud? Better? Okay. Add some bass to the voice. How I wish I could. I was born like this. Right. I need bark of dog on my voice. I also have a cold, which doesn't help. Okay, cool. Right, so we're going to kick things off with this track because it's loaded, and why not, eh? So this is one of those tracks that's already pretty advanced. There's going to be a selection of more beginner tracks and more advanced tracks in this, but something that, again, still I do with my accelerator coaches, we've been producing for a long time, and we'll still try and get someone else to listen to our music, because even if you've been doing this for like 30 years, sometimes you'll just miss something, or you'll get too close to a project and you'll lose objectivity. So that's, even if you're advanced, this should still be a helpful experience. And in terms of what feedback to accept and what to reject, if you get the same feedback from lots of people who kind of know what they're talking about, it's probably worth listening to that feedback. If you get just like random feedback that could be a bit more subjective, you could consider it and then choose to do it or reject it. But that's a good rule of how to react to feedback, because sometimes it's purely subjective. But if lots of people are saying the same thing, like just then, lots of people were saying the music's too loud, okay, I'll turn it down. That for me is a good way to accept feedback. Sweet, let's do it. I know, no buns, no carbs, that would be good. I usually live like that, not today. So let's listen to this track. I'm not going to listen to the whole track of each track. Plugins are disabled. But that shouldn't matter, because hopefully everything's been frozen. It looks like it has. Friday Night Vibes. Okay, really nicely produced. What I'm going to be looking out for here is about balancing that mix. So if you've got a reference track, that's really going to help. Like, this is a really good mix. So I'll just say that straight out the gate. But let's have a listen to this. Okay, I think I know what's happened. This is the final mix down, and that sounds a lot better. So here are the reference tracks. Let's have a listen to this one. Not so similar. This is more similar, right? So that's the one we're kind of comparing our mix to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check the frequency spread with, I'm actually going to use the Pro Q4, because span tends to crash my computer for some reason, even though I've got an absolute beast computer, which is kind of annoying. So I'm going to put this on our reference track, which is this one, and then we've got it on our track as well. Just close the window. So we'll put one here, and then we'll put one on In My Heart. I don't know where the other one I picked up was, but hey. And now let's just look at these two. So before we can really give an accurate analysis of this, we need to get the average volumes kind of doing the same thing. So what I'm going to do, if on the left we've got our reference track, on the right we've got the track, the student track, and we can see straight away this is much louder, like everything's louder, probably because this one's been mastered, but our one hasn't been mastered yet. So we need to account for that increase in volume, because a mastered track's always going to kind of sound punchier and better, you know, and louder, usually speaking. So the way that we're going to have to deal with that is first bring it down so the volumes are similar. So I'm going to put a utility on the reference track. I'm just going to bring it down a bit until they look like they're a similar loudness. So on the right we've got our track, on the left we've got the reference track. And let's go back to that reference track, which I think was this one. And I'll just bring it down with the utility until it looks similar. And now we can actually see that ours is very similar in terms of the frequency spread. So it sounds like there's not much that needs to be done to this track apart from mastering it. Why is that so much quieter that now then? Because it's set to -12 here. That's why, and this is a bit more advanced, for anyone who's doing referencing, if you set the -12 at the beginning of the chain before your analysis tools, it's way more used than setting it on the channel level after the analysis tools. Again, this is something that we really kind of hammer home when we're doing our accelerator training, but it's so that this here, it actually displays as the lower volumes, because it's not very helpful if it's just if you're reducing the volume after it. So now they should be quite comparable. So the only thing that's really concerning me now is that you've got these roll-offs, but I guess that, yeah, I wouldn't probably have that roll-off there. Yeah, but that's a really great track. So let's see what's going on in the chat. See who's in there. Now Clive's saying that track audio is a little low. Okay, I'll turn it up for the next one. So let's do that. Let's pop it up there. Hopefully that one's going to be a bit louder. Next one, I'm going to just kind of go through in order. So I've opened that one. So that's going to go red because it's been opened. Let's go for this one. I'm going to go for 1.4 because, you know, it's later. But when you're sending stuff to people in the industry, try and make it as clearly labeled as possible. And that there's no room for misunderstanding. Yeah, that's my advice. It's simple advice, really. Just assume that we're all a bit dim and we need a little bit of help knowing what the right stuff is. Okay, right, let's listen to this track. Okay, that's peaking very loudly. So, first thing I'm going to do is, if your final EQ is looking like this, that means something needs to doing in the mix. You know, your master EQ shouldn't look like this. So I'm going to turn off the mastering, because what we really want to do is get our mix down sounding amazing before it even hits the mastering stage. So I'm just going to see what levels we're hitting. Because look, we were peaking at 8.5 then. That's way too loud. So the first thing I would do is just make sure that our kick is peaking at -12 and then mix everything to that. But I'm just going to put the master fader back to 0. That's what I would advise. Just always leave your master fader at 0. And then a good mix down, if it's well balanced and the kick is peaking at -12, will probably bounce around somewhere between -4 and -8 dB on the master channel. That's what I've found. If it's like way outside of that range, it probably means that your mix is off. Like, you can see it's the snare that's really way too loud there. So let's find the snare. There we go. Is it just the snare? Yeah. And I want that kick to be peaking at -12. It's distorting quite a lot, actually. So that's the point I want to do my mix from, really. And now let's find the bass, where the bass comes in. Yeah, so there's some issues with the gain staging here. We've got lots of, when you're seeing lots of kind of red or orange things flashing up, that means that you've got clipping, and we don't want that, because that's going to lead to distortion, basically. So Hey Will, we can only see half of the EQ8 box. Let me just double check that. Maybe I'll just share my Ableton screen direct from here instead. That could be good, couldn't it? Mac OS, screen capture. Application capture. Not showing here. Don't know why it's not showing there. So I've seen a pretty cool, I've done something crazy now. Let's get rid of that. So, yes, I want to remove that. I'm just going to do it over here because then I can see things better. Okay, I see what the issue is. Yeah, I'm going to make the Ableton screen a bit shorter. So, it's because these MacBook Pros have got weird resolutions, not standard ones. You should now be able to see everything pretty much. So that should be better now. Cool. All right. I'm just going to check the chat. Sweet. Yeah, so someone's asking about the levels of the other major things. The main things to mix in once you've got the kick in at -12 is get that bass, get your average bass volume to be about -20. I found that to be a really good rule of thumb. So that means like muting everything apart from the kick and then the bass. Nice, I love that piano. There's some vocals there that are kind of out of tune. Oh, my throat's sore. So then I would mix the bass in, basically. No pun intended. So I'm going to look to the bass. And the bass is really changing volume, like as it changes note. Like look at the volume here, and then it goes up, and look at what the volume drops to. You need your bass to be much more regular in terms of volume, and an average volume. So with the light green one in your bass of about -20, with your kick peak at -12. That's the two most important things to get right, and then everything else is much easier. And then you'll probably have your mix somewhere around -6, and you're going to have a much better balance. And then on that You're My Addiction, yeah, no, it kind of works. It's slightly not perfectly in tune all the way, but it's like an old school feel to this track. So that could be a creative choice. You don't want it to be necessarily completely perfect. So yeah, like the ideas in the track are great, but I would say that the mix is really where you need to do some work on that. Cool, so that one's done. We're going to, what? No, okay, whatever. So now let's go into this one, EDN Tips Final. And let's just make some space. So, okay, this looks like it's just a loop idea. I think I probably got the wrong file. No, this isn't, this is just like a loop idea. Let's try this. Okay. Something's a bit crazy. That works. Maybe it's just a couple of these notes at the end. Maybe, yeah, I mean, I haven't got the plugin, so I can't really unfreeze it. But I think those notes, those two notes there, should be there, and then that note should be there. And that's really it for making sure that that melody is just a little bit stronger. So with this bass, you 100% want the kick to be ducking it. Like this. Whoops. So I'm gonna, because it's fighting too much, and you've got two things doing the sub bass. You only ever want one sub bass playing at a time. So usually that's going to be the kick and then your sub bass line. And then everything else is going to be classed as a mid bass, and it's going to have everything under 100 hertz kind of rolled off. And that's going to give you a much cleaner mix. Because if we look at this, although I won't be able to, we can look at it here using this the master channel. So if we load in an analyzer on there, again we'll just use the Pro Q4. Look at all those bass frequencies are being played by stab 1. All of these are being played by stab 2. Look, and by your bass. So what I would be doing 100% is having these classed as your mid bass, like so, and then I would have an EQ on there taking out everything. I just want to close the window, there we go. So something more along these lines, to 100 hertz or so. So nothing under there. This is off. Listen to that difference. And we just want one instrument hitting the bass, like so. And then all of the bass together, I would have a sidechain compressor to allow it to bounce against the kick. And that's going to make any dance music track in 2025 way more punchy. So LFO tool could be on there like so. So then it's doing this instead of that. And I wouldn't have this melody change the second time through. I just repeat that chord progression and that melody like this. Keep it simple. That's all you need. Give me some happy hardcore vibes. So yeah, that's what I would do. You know, simplify. Most people, they get lost. They think, oh, what can I do to keep this track interesting? So they end up adding another melody or changing the chord progression. But if you listen to the best tracks that you like, I almost guarantee that there will be like 1, 2, 3, or 4 chords that in one progression that's maybe 4, 8, or 16 bars long, and it will just repeat. That's like 98% of the case with dance music. And all the interest comes from the arrangement, when you bring elements in, when you take elements out, how you layer things together. We're looking to have something that's a simple idea, just executed well, and automation and stuff like that. That's how you keep the interest going, not just like changing up the melody and the chord progressions. So yeah, cool. So the song's very low. Okay, shall I even turn that up a bit more? I'll turn that up a bit more then. It's kind of hard because some tracks are mastered and others aren't. So actually what I could do is I could just ask that they're all unmastered and then just throw on a compressor. I'll do that next time. But as it is, we are going to continue. So next we are going to go to Freak of the Opera. So this one is the only one that's an MP3, which is a shame because it's easier to kind of dial into stuff if it's the project file. Let's have a listen. I think this one's been mastered, so it's really loud. Okay, you're not hearing anything. Fair enough. What I'm going to do is drag it into an Ableton project, and then we can listen to it. Haha, see? Not just a pretty face. Right, here we go. Oops. Let's have a listen. I'll turn this down a bit then, because this has definitely been mastered. Like, this sounds good so far. Nice build. Ooh, ghosts and stuff. Okay, I love the idea. It's got that kind of ghosts and stuff vibe. A couple of things I'd say. I think I'm assuming that chord progression is from a sample pack, because the rundown of the chords aren't perfectly in time with the tempo of the track. It's like going a little bit early, so I would sort the timing out. If it is a sample from a sample pack, just warp it with Complex Pro, and then just get that timing like bang on, because for this kind of music, you know, basically really punchy electro house, you want the timing to be bang on. So that's the first thing I would say. And then the next thing is quite loud, so you might struggle to have a really hard drop. That could be because you mastered it. Like, is this the build? Yeah.
Show me your freak.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so this is something I see a lot. So especially when it comes to the mastering, the volume that people use for the kick drum and the bass and all of their elements is the same in the break as it is on the drop. But what that means is then quite often, because you've got like drum rolls and stuff in the build up, if it's all the same volume as the drums on the drop, your build up will always sound more intense and louder than the drop. And the drop should be the most energetic part of the track, the actual drop. So a really quick example, I'm just gonna go in really quickly and get this synced up so it's easier to kind of fiddle around with. And let's get this in tempo. So it sounds like it's probably 127. Yeah, there we go. Like Wolfgang Gartner type style. Like you've got your bass and everything like hitting full there. So what I'm going to show you is if we were to use it on this track instead, I'm just going to reduce the volume and take out the low end of the bass. So I'm going to take off at about maybe 80 Hertz. So when the kick comes in, it still sounds like a kick. Maybe there. And then I'm going to take down the volume. And there's other things you can do. I saw someone using the bass clef washout. We've got one in EDM Tips Accelerator as well, like our own version of a washout. So it adds things like reverb and delay and filter and saturation. And that's what you can use as a tool, kind of like Endless Smile by Dada Life. So all of that stuff can help take away the energy. So on the drop, it's louder. Like this is loud enough. It didn't noticeably drop in volume then. But that means now on the drop, especially if we do this and automate it just before the drop.
Show me your freak. Show me your freak.
And now the drop slaps harder because you've got the contrast. So contrast is very important. I love this riff. There. Boop, 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 boop. Anima. Oh. So it's kind of like a melodic techno mixed with electro house. Cool idea. Yeah. So you've done a much better job of creating that contrast there, and you can actually see it, you know. So yeah, I can see that you already know what you're doing. It's just you kind of forgot to do it in this first break. It should look more like that in terms of the levels you're hitting. The other thing I would say is that you've got the bass holding on one note, but the chord progression going down. I'd kind of like to hear the bass go down as well. Boom, 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 boom. Because I think there are so many low frequencies in the organ as well. You kind of need the bass line to follow it when it's playing. The difference is on this drop, the chords stop playing, so it works. It kind of goes straight to the root note drop. That's cool. But here you've got the chord progression, so then I would have the root note, so I would have the bass note change with the chord progression on the second drop, and that's a really nice thing to do in pretty much any genre, because it gives a payoff to the listener. It makes the final drop more special than the other ones. But yeah, nice work. Excellent. Having some great tracks today. Cool. So now we're going into a future house project. After a sip of tea. To soothe my ill throat. There is a frozen track. I don't know. I'm just going to play it. If it hasn't got all of the files, well, that's not my fault. There's not much I can do about it. Let's have a listen. Cool. So let's take that back to the beginning, hear what the lead in is. I'll check the levels. How is it, guys? Is that okay? Is that levels good? Sweet. Thanks. Ooh. I'm getting some Fred again vibes. Okay. Okay, so the big issue here is the mix. The idea is nice. I love the melody, and the vocal. Like a perfectly toasted hot cross bun, slathered with delicious butter. So let's apply those mixing, that mixing framework I mentioned earlier, because that's what's happening. So the way we can do that, again, really simply, leave the master fader on 0, get the kick peaking at -12. Little kick, where are you? Here we go. So what you can see, we've got all this clipping. That's bad. That's like a burnt hot cross bun. So we're going to take down the kick. We can just do it all together, so we're not having to remix everything. Let's get the kick peak at -12. There we go. And then I want to get the bass average of -20. So where's the bass? -10. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be completely exact. Just more or less. Close enough. So where's that bass? Here we go. Excellent, we've rolled off the low end. Nice work, we've got the mid bass. But the sub, where is it? Sub bass is too loud now. So we want the sub bass to be averaging -20. We can see it's much louder than that. But the bass and the mid bass are nicely balanced, the sub bass and the mid bass. So I'll drag them down together. Whoops. Oh, right. We've got this issue. Look at the sub bass is changing volume massively. That's a problem. It should be pretty level. Like those last two notes there suddenly go really quiet. I think because they're being ducked already with the shaper box. Okay, so this is after the sidechain ducking, so it's a bit harder to determine. So I'm going to go on that first bit. That boom, boom. So, but I think you've got something going on with your volume on your sub bass and you want it to be more even. So then it's going to be more like this. See, that's too weak, but those first 4 beats, if the sub bass was more even, it would work the whole way through the progression. But check this out. Like, that's a nice solid mix now. And then you just have to mix everything in order of importance and make sure it works with those kick and bass levels. and there you've got a much better mix, you know. So the sounds are great, you know. And I really like the harmony of the melody, really nice. So yeah, I'd sort the sub bass out, make sure it's a bit more even, and then do that. So hopefully that helps. Sweet, cool. I'm just looking at the chat now. Ben Bowman Fred again. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's kind of got that dual vibe. Cool. Now we already did. No, we didn't already do that. So let's do this one. Here we go. Okay, that's loud. That's been mastered. So I'm going to take that down on the vibometer. So hopefully that should be a kind of good volume. I don't know Subora. I think so. There's one called Trance, so I assume so. This is great. Really, really nicely produced. Yeah, that's the washout thing. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so I think that the vocals get lost a little bit in the production now and again. Like these words here, for example. So it looks like you're just using delay and kickstart on there. I think for the level that you're at as a producer, you can do more with the vocals. You know, I'm talking about compression, making sure that all the syllables are kind of, you know, maybe you split the track for the quiet ones and you manually push them up. I can't do it because it's frozen, but you push the clip volume up, and just those vocals are the key to this track. You know, it's a very vocal led track. And then using simple ping pong delays as your effects, again, I think you can do better than that. I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong, it works, but you're at a level now where I want to push you to be absolutely world class. And for me, the rest of the actual production is really, really good. And I think that if you can focus on doing something a bit more interesting with the vocals, then this would be an absolute banger. So something else you could also consider using once you've got it working well is something like Soothe 2 or Pro Q4 actually has similar functions to Soothe 2 now. So that's something you can consider. The vocals sound good because they've already been processed. So little things like, instead of having it automated on the channel itself, like this delay, have have a auxiliary channel and just automate out a few words to that auxiliary channel, and then you could do crazy stuff on there with delay and reverb and really just make it sound, you know, like it's 2025. But the actual mix and composition is great. Like just like stuff like that, just dropping the formants. You could double up that layer, have the normal vocals, and then have the formant shifted vocals underneath and spread out really wide, but just quieter, so it adds thickness and body to the low end. And it's just treating it with a bit more nuance, and that's how to take this track to the next level. Yeah, that kind of attention to detail. Yeah, but mix is good. Great track, that. Loving it. Yeah, vocal chain. Yeah, I know what you mean about the kick. I mean, it's kind of like a Afro house kick, so it kind of works in that respect. Where's the drop? Oh, there. Yeah, let's... Where's that, do we? That's great, I love that loop. Thank you, my dear, for that lovely drink. So yeah, I know you've composed this with samples mainly, which is, there's absolutely no problem with that at all. Simplicity is good, it makes working with it easier as well. So you could try another kick. So what I would suggest is, we'll kick 3. Now what I would suggest is try maybe like 4, 5, 6 different kicks whilst everything's playing, and just note down which one sounds best, because you might stumble across one that just jams even better with that one. It's really good. Yeah, and it sounds modern. It sounds fresh, you know. If you can just spice up those vocals a little bit more with a nice solid chain, I think you'd be golden. I've got those plugins, so I can unfreeze this. I'll give you. Let's go unfreeze track. Is what I mean. So instead of this, where is it? I mean this. Let's create a new one. Get those vocals down there. Get down there. These ones we can leave or revert back to normal. So no pitch shift. Like so. No pitch shift. So now they're back to normal. So. And instead of that, you've then got this. Let's bring it down in volume. I'm going to do something like add a... what's it called? Towards the end of the day, and I'm ill. That's my excuse. Live with it. No excuses, Will. The world doesn't care about your excuses. So now let's put this here and spread it wider. Like this. And it's going to make it just a little bit less kind of... It's a little bit cheesy, you know. But if you can just treat it with a bit... Make it a bit more subtle, then it doesn't have to be. So let me see if I can shift... So something like that. It's got a bit more edge to it. And then you just bring it in underneath. We can even take the high end out. So then you've got this kind of effect. And this is what I mean, like these words here get a bit lost. So what I would do, before even compressing them, which I would do, is just bring up some of them to be a similar volume. Just blend them together, like so. Again, we go into this in module 6, in way more detail in the accelerator. But working with vocals is very important. So these two, I'm going to just bring them both up a little bit more. And it's painstaking, but that's what it takes. If you want to be at the top of the game, you have to pay the price. And then instead of that little delay there, and I'm going to spread this out even wider. I'm getting carried away now. So on that one, I'd have an auxiliary channel like this. I'd get a delay on there like this. Probably quite a long delay like that. Or maybe just not even dotted, like so. And then you can automate out just that one word. Boom, Bob's your uncle. And now you've got this. So then you've just got, maybe add a little reverb to it. You've just got it's a bit more subtle, you know? So that's what I do, but it's a great track, so well done. I'm gonna have a sip of this. Okay, let's see what's going on. Next we've got Keep Moving. I'm going to speed things up about halfway through. Doom, doom. Oh. Now, let's have a listen. Oh, tempo. That's very mono, I have to say. This is cool. I think it probably needs a little bit of ear candy, like.
Even when there is no hope, the key is to keep going. Keep progressing. Keep moving.
Yeah, this is great. I love the vibe. I think this needs ear candy. So if this is just a rough idea, brilliant. I would take this out to a full track. So I would create some ear candy like reverse reverb, the delays that we just looked at as well. I mean, check this out, the difference this is going to make. I'm just butchering your tracks. I don't care. I said I'd do it. It's on your own head, be it. You can completely ignore everything I'm suggesting, by the way, obviously.
Keep moving.
So I go moving. Right, here we go.
Keep moving.
No, cheesy. That's what I meant to do. And I'm going to turn it down a bit because I've thrown out the whole amount.
Keep moving.
So I'd do that, but I'd also have the sidechain compressor duck that as well. And that's going to make it bounce in time as well. So let's just put this on there again. It's going to be more like this.
Moving.
So it's still bouncing.
Pressing. Keep moving.
And then, this is what I mean about throwing it out to another channel like this. You can do loads of cool stuff with it. This is real professor stuff. But that's what we're here for. So I'm going to throw in something like the Little Altar Boy, which is a formant shifter. but it's going to allow me to kind of automate it. So then we could do something like this. Let's automate the performance down over time. Whoops, wrong one. This is the one I meant to do.
Keep moving, 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 moving.
Like that. So we can automate that if we're using a plugin like that. And again, I said it's painstaking, but this is I'd only do this kind of stuff towards the end when I know the track's working well. So then
Keep moving.
I'll increase the volume of that so we can really hear it as well.
Keep moving, moving, moving.
Let's make it even. I wouldn't have it this loud, but I just want to show what it's doing.
Keep moving, 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 moving,
But then the feedback could go off, so it would fade out.
even when there is no hope.
And I'd have it more quiet than that, but that's the kind of thing you can do anyway. Yeah, I think getting the mix a bit better. It's not really balanced, I think, as well as it could be. Again, I've already shown how we can do that fairly simply. Get that kick hitting at -12, get the bass averaging, the sub bass averaging about -20. Looking pretty good. It's a little low end light.
Even when there is no hope.
Vocals need to go louder.
Going. Keep progressing. Keep moving.
And then whenever she does that, you can do that bit with the thingy, what's it?
Keep moving.
But of course we need to then copy that. That's the thing, when you are doing work on the auxiliary channels, you have to remember to copy the automation as well. Otherwise it won't sound the same. And yeah, you just need to be aware of that.
Keep moving, moving. Keep moving, moving.
See, little stuff like that. That's how you create something that's continually interesting. I love this track though. Like, great work. Oh, what's he doing?
Even when there is no hope. The key is to keep going. Keep progressing. Keep moving.
So, washouts, things like that, really going to add interest to this track. Yeah, but this is a really, really nice idea. I like the vibe, and I think the simplicity of it is to its favour. And these small nuances are the difference between a track that's great and just like one that sounds like it's finished and ready for the radio. Hopefully that's been good. Hopefully people are still listening. Yeah, they are. Peggy Goo vibes, yeah, for sure. A nice kind of, nice vibes. Nice vibes. Okay. As we continue. Lift me higher. And now it's lift me up. Shall I have a strepsil? No, I won't have a strepsil. I won't subject you to horrible sounds. Oh, this one's taking a while to load. Billy Big Boy. Oh. Okay, this looks like there could be issues. No, it's working. Nice, liking the vibe. Your hats are definitely need to be a little brighter, the open hat. Like all of this stuff, Soothe 2 on your hats and a multi-band thingy on your hats, it's not needed. And that's why the mix is sounding a little bit kind of crunchy almost. Just a Fab Filter EQ should be enough on something like the hats. Yeah, otherwise things get really complicated, basically. So let's just unfreeze this one. Take these off. It's already sounding better. I love the rim shot, 909 rim shots. A really nice old school vibe. So we definitely need to take up the... Yeah, great arrangement. It's just about the mix, really. I probably have had that break be twice as long, but that's just my gut feeling when I heard it. I love that vocal. Okay. Right, we're vibing. That's cool. So now let's look at these levels. Now, when you do these mix levels, it's always a good idea to do it without any bus processing. And the further down the chain of production you go, and the more buses you've got, and then you've got the stuff on the master channel, every change you make earlier on in the chain is going to have a knock-on waterfall type effect. So you change it, it's going to change how the compressor's acting. Then on the bus, when other things are being fed into it, the other compressors, all of that's going to change as well. So it's better to get the basic mix sounding great before you even do bus processing. And then basically you're just polishing it up at every stage. So bus processing, it's making something that already sounds great, sound better. Then the mastering should just be making your mix pretty much just louder. You know, at the point you go into the mastering chain, you want the mix to be sounding great already. So let's have a look at the levels we're hitting. See, we got it hitting -12, but then something's happening to take out all the low end. Or maybe it's just the kick itself. Ah, sorry, it's the beginning, maybe, before the drops happen. That's better, my mistake. Just the top kick. Oh, they weren't working anyway. So I don't have my UAD card plugged in, so this bus processing could be making it sound perfect for all I know. I can't hear the effects of it. You're doing well on the... But the bass is too quiet. And again, maybe this thing is making it sound better. But yeah, I mean, it's a great track. I think I'm hearing it not as it's intended because there are some plugins that aren't frozen. So unfortunately, there's not that much I can do with it because I don't know what it actually sounds like when everything's running properly. But the sound selection is great. You've got all the old school house sounds.
Listen, baby, I can get whatever man I want.
Yeah, so it's a nice vibe. So there's a question in the chat from Phonetic Beat saying, would you generally have the bass 1 dB lower than the kick? No, because it completely depends on what kind of bass it is. That's why I always just look to get the sub bass averaging at -20 if my kick is peaking at -12. Because if you've got a bass line that's loads of mid bass or like really aggressive like dubstep compared to a really subby tech house bass line that's basically a sine wave, there is no standard like peak level that your bass can be. Now people are saying turn the volume up. That's the thing. I can't see the chat when I'm listening. I'll turn the volume up for the next one. But if it's mastered, I'll have to turn it down. Okay, this one. Here we go. But yeah, nice vibes on that. Unfortunately, I couldn't, use all of the plugins, so it could have sounded different. But if the mix is good, that's a great track. There's nothing that I would change. Okay, here we go. Next track. Let's see what the level's doing. I'll check the levels first thing here. How's that? If I'm speaking, is that kind of about the right level? Cool. Nice one. Thanks, guys. Oh, nice vocals. See, no mastering as well. Oh no, he has got mastering. He's got the AU5 one. It's not doing anything. Because the mix is good. Okay, so it's missing something here. I thought that was kind of almost like a top kick intro. But I think we're lacking a little bit on the drop. So I'm just going to use my technique to check this. So we've got the kick, which is really quite a soft kick. You can even see there's like some attack to it, which is unusual with a kick. But it's suitable for this genre, right? So let's just bring that up a little bit. So it's hitting -12. Then let's bring the bass line in. Where's the bass? Boma bass. So the bass is where we have a bit of an issue. We just need let's turn off the mid basses. And we need this sub bass to be averaging at -20. The trouble is, I think this is 1 octave too high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unfreeze this track. I don't have these plugins anyway, but they weren't doing anything because I could hear 0 difference. And now what I'm going to do is just put this down an octave, because we want our sub bass range to be between about 30 hertz and, I don't know, 70 hertz. And if one note goes too high, then we can just drop that one note down an octave. And that's why I love to teach our accelerator students to have a separate sub bass channel. Because if we check this out, where's the fundamental frequency of this bass line? Well, on this note, it is 70 Hertz, so that's already quite high. But here, it's 85 Hertz, and here, it's almost 100 Hertz. So now listen to the difference if we just drop this sub bass line down an octave. That's too low, so we can leave that one there. But then for these two, we can drop them down an octave. So now let's look. We got this one, 70 Hertz. That's just acceptable, an acceptable sub bass. But now, this is much lower and deeper. And that's a different note, so we might have that one down lower or not. And then let's look at the level. So remember, if the kick's peaky at -12, more or less, we want the sub bass on its own to be about -20. So more like that. And now we can bring in our mid basses. Whoops, underneath. So that's what I would do pretty much. Oh, triplets. Love the piano. That piano is lovely, that bling. Nice. So here, it hits harder with the bass down there. But where's the percussion, you know? You need the open hat. I'm sure there's some in there, they're just too quiet. So yeah, I mean, the actual track is lovely. Love the sounds, love the vocals. But you need the more percussion in there. It's just a little bit quiet, and maybe you need the open hat. Let's have a listen quickly to the difference it's going to make. Straight away, just needs to be a bit louder. And again, using your reference track, which I can see you're doing, is great, but that's going to allow us to maybe that one will do for now. I'm just doing this like to mock up something. And again, if you're using your reference track, you can check your frequency spread against your track and see if there's an instrument missing maybe, but then you know, you've got something to work into. Great track. I love that going to the triplets.
You go on and on to get me through. I knew that's how you do. Oh my, walking in the rain never felt right. Till you
Great, really works very well.
you go on and on to get me through. I knew that's how you do.
Okay, now we've got some more energy in the high end. But the sub bass again, it's an octave too loud, too high. That's a great track though, really, really nice work. It's usually, when you've got a nice track, it's usually not that many changes that need to happen to really just massage it into an absolute banger. So there's a question from Tim saying, clarifying question. So with the bass changes impacting the low end like this, should this influence how you decide to compose your song, or would that be too analytical? Yeah, it should influence how you decide to compose your song. But you're talking about moving a note from one octave down to another. It's not like it's really a massive compositional thing. Let's see. And in it, I think this change about having your sounds spread across the whole spectrum but in a defined way. Absolutely. How do you deal with a reference being mastered and not letting it fool you? There's only so much you can do, but the main thing that mastering usually does will be increase the loudness. There are other things as well, of course, but so the easiest thing to do is just bring your reference track down by 12 decibels and then set your kick to peak at -12 and mix from that point. And that's how you do it. You basically bring the volume down. In the simplest way. Cool. Nice to see everyone we got Skyfall in the chat as well from the Accelerator. Sweet. Oh, right, let's get on to the next one. So, my throat's going because I'm ill. Excuse me. Some plugins disabled. Let's have a listen. Move your feet. Nice. Really spreads out nicely. Nice. Look, we can see it's a good mix. How are the levels? Is that okay or a bit loud? Nice. Yeah. Okay. So look. Kick. -10.8. A little louder than -12, but look. Mix is sounding balanced and it's between that -4 to -8 on the master channel. This is a good mix. Let's see what the bass is doing. The sub bass is a little bit quiet, so I'm going to look to bring that up a bit. Taking down the energy, so the contrast is big on the drop. Okay, you got something cool going on here. So what I would do is Where's that bam, 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 bam sound? I would play with the stereo field here. You know, something like this. Where is it? I'm gonna unfreeze that, sorry. And then I'm just gonna spread it really wide using this ozone imager. Checking in mono, make sure it hasn't gone weird. Sounds the same in stereo as mono. Sorry, it sounds the same when I bypass it. So now, instead of this, we got this, which is just like mind bending. So then we can have this effect. On the drop, it's going to be a really, it's really going to spread things out. And in fact, you could just wait for the drop till that happens, like this. So I'm playing with the stereo width. More contrast. Ready? On the drop. And let's look at that sub bass level. Oh, okay, it's close. I probably have it maybe there. And then you can play with it, you know, just go back for this bit to there. Yeah, this is giving me Ibiza vibes straight away. This is a great track, you know, it's well mixed, good balance, not trying to fit in too many ideas into one track. Yeah, this is a really nice track, so great work on this. Yeah, there's not much else I'd change. Just, you know, play with that stereo field on maybe that synth and you could create something that's, I could totally hear that being played in Ibiza, for sure. Yeah, let's have a listen again. Okay, let's have a bit more of a listen to this bit. I'm going to play with the stereo. That's a vibe. I'm going to play with it just because I can. Let's play with the delay. Just little stuff like that. You can have fun, you know, with when you've got some good core sounds, you can keep the interest going through automation and things like that. But that's a really nice track, that. So whoever did that, well done. Couple more. Thank you all very much, by the way. I do appreciate the fact that you're spending your Saturday evenings and mornings here. Cool. All right, let's see. Let's have a listen. I'm going to check those levels straight out the gate. Looking good. That's a lot of basses. Only want one sub bass. I can tell you that straight away. Nice, I love that syncopated camel fat. Dun, 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 dun. And the synthwave synths. Okay, this is a nice idea, but layering of that many basses is not going to help. So let's just see if we can clean this up a little bit. Sub bass should just be a clean sine wave. Done. You don't need another one. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Now sub bass, the mid basses, that's where we bring the texture. But we need to make sure we've got the low end taken out. So I think there's still sub bass in there. Let's have a look. Everything under 100 Hertz. Don't need that. Same there. Any mid bass doesn't need anything on that first fundamental, because that's what the sub bass is doing. So I'm just taking out the first fundamental. It's not really a bass, but whatever. I mean, it's more of a lead, I guess, but same thing applies. We don't want the... So now we can create a really, we've got loads of control over this now. Before it's a bit like, okay, well, how loud does each one have to be? And that's when mixing gets really complex. And it doesn't need to be that way. So if we start with the most important thing, which is the kick, and then make sure that the sub bass is averaging about -20. Let's find that kick again. I think there could be a kick that works better, to be honest, but now let's get the sub bass. What's the sub bass doing there? It should be going. Yeah. But I'm losing it somehow. Something's clashing with the sub bass, so I'm losing it. Let's turn everything else off. Okay, I think that low dum 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 is kind of fighting with the sub bass. That dum dum dum, because that's so low, it's almost like a bass note. So you kind of want it to go dum dum. Let's at least make sure that we've taken everything out under 100 there. So it's not going to fight so much. That sounds a bit better. Now, you've got no sidechain compression on the bass. It's not coming from your kick for some reason, by the look of things. Oh, it's frozen, so maybe it is. Let's unfreeze it and see what we can see. No, it's not doing anything. I'm just going to put a shape-up box on there, or kickstart to an LFO tool, doesn't matter. But we just want that kick ducky against the kick. Even if you don't want your sub bass to be really ducking, it's a good idea to have your sub bass kicking. Sorry, if you don't want to have your mid bass kicking, always have your sub bass ducking. Like that. because the kick's doing the sub bass there anyway. All it's going to do is block up your mix. Now we can start bringing in those mid basses, which I'm just going to group together and call mid bass, like so, mid bass, and then treat them all as one instrument. And probably have a little bit of ducking on there. Well, everyone's dropped off. Not everyone.
Not everyone,
Wait, here. Still not working? No? I'm going to have to call this day then.
oh wait. You're now upside down, but I think we're also getting updated. Then why are you upside down now?
I've changed it. Now it should be. Okay, you can hear me? Cool. Thank you for everyone who stuck around. About 70% of people dropped off, understandably, but hey ho. So it's back on. I'm going to load up Ableton and we'll see if we can continue. Next one's a trance track. Let's see. If this is going to open up. So, can you see Ableton now?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, cool. How's this? Let's try the sound again. Okay, that's really loud. Let's see what's going on here straight away. Whoa, intense. Okay, I'm going to say everything down because the mix is way too loud. Okay. Oh, nice. I like the gated vocals. Okay, so a couple of things. First, this synth is like in a different key to the bass line, so we need to sort that out. Don't need a second bass, I don't think. You need one sub bass. And you just need to get that sub bass right. So let's see what vocal key this is in. E minor. The bass is in the same key as the bass is in the same key as the vocals, but this riff here, that do note there isn't. So let's look at what's going on here. We've got E minor selected. Why is that sounding a bit wrong then? let's figure that out, because that doesn't sound correct. Maybe it is. I just don't think it's the best note in the key to choose. I can see you've done it right. You've chosen E minor as the scale. You've got the vocals in E minor, which haven't been transposed. And the instrument is tuned correctly, I think. Because sometimes if you're doing it with a sample and the sample wasn't recorded at middle C, then actually you can be writing the right notes in, but the sample's sampled a different note. So let me just try this with a grand piano, because I know that's going to be tuned correctly. Yeah, so it is correct. But for me, that sounds better. Maybe I just wasn't expecting it then, and it's subjective. Well, you've got 0 kicks happened yet, and we're already a minute into the track. This is where you definitely need to use a reference track to help with arrangement, because you don't want to confuse people on the dance floor. They want to know when the kick's going to come in. They want to know when the drop's going to happen. Good kick. Yeah, the vocals really know. Yeah, so I would listen to reference tracks in the genre you're creating. There's so much to learn in music production. There is literally no other pastime that people embark upon that could be more complicated than music production. And it's changing all the time as genres change and new software comes out. So using reference tracks to really understand what elements should be in a track in a particular genre is the best thing that you can do to progress. So you'll find out that there won't be a second sub bass coming in. What other synths come in? Would you have something like an arpeggio, like underneath, or would you have chord stabs? Only by listening to reference tracks are you going to be able to answer those questions. Because if you try and figure it all out just from what you stumble across, you'll stumble across nice stuff now and again, as you have done. Like the vocals work nicely, it's good with the bass, but if you can now figure out what it's missing and where the arrangement should go, you'll be able to take this out. It's all working in terms of the music theory as well. You've done it all right, great. I've turned that mix down, so we're kind of abiding by that framework we've touched upon today. Having that kick peaking at -12, having your sub bass average about -20, and then build everything up from there. So yeah, that's what I would recommend to do. I think those vocals sound great with that bass line as well. So I would find a good reference track that is going to help you decide what else to include and where you should be putting the kick drums and drops and things like that. Great work. Cool. So, last one before my throat falls off is this one. So let's have a listen. Let's check the mix. Nice. Cool. Oh, I know where the idea for this came from. Nice. That Dom Dollar video. It's a vibe. I like it. Yeah, I think that's out of key with the rest of the track and maybe overcomplicating things a little bit. This is like that's the idea, you know. That's the idea that's working. I think the break should be a play on what you've already got rather than going to this thing, which kind of changes key. I don't think you need it, you know. I think you can build out the track with all of the elements you've already got. So yeah, I see you're using my you know, levels, starting levels as well, and that's why the mix is pretty good. But yeah, I think you've done a great job of taking what I started and changing it to those vocals sound really cool. They work really well with that beat, and I like the bass line and this do 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 syncopated synth here. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would kind of ditch this. I would use probably that Dom Dollar track that I was referencing to help with the arrangement. Like, please don't try and reinvent the wheel when it comes to arrangement. There's no benefit to it. There are probably about 8 different arrangements in dance music and they've all been used a million times. That's fine. You know, that's not where the creativity lies. Now and again you might get something that switches things up a little bit, but it's pretty rare, you know. And you want DJs to understand what they're playing with as well. If you've got something that doesn't start in a normal way, unless it's like the track to end all tracks because it's that good, DJs just probably won't even play it, you know. So they want to have something that they know there's going to be like 16 bars of beats at the beginning, go into the first drop, the break. And there are a few different arrangements, but use those reference tracks to really help. Sweet. All right. Well, yeah, I think that just about time to call it a day. So thank you very, very much for joining me. And yeah, if you want to take part in the next one, do sign up to our email list. It's edmtips.com/club. And I will let you know as and when we run this again. We will run 2 live group calls every single week for our accelerator students, as well as Tuneful Tuesday feedback from Gustav. So yeah, if you are interested in the accelerator, you can check it out on our website and edmtips www.accelerator. And yeah, have a fantastic weekend, fantastic Easter, and yeah, don't eat